You're listening now to the Real Estate Lab with Bayut. Hi everyone, my name is Chris Crawford and I'm the Sales Director here at Bayut.com. Firstly, I would like to welcome you all to our new podcast segment, the Real Estate Labs with Bayut.com. As we all know, the UAE real estate market has been worldwide news. That can be quite overwhelming to keep up with insights and trends. So we thought we'd take it upon ourselves to bring some people on board to give you their insights, their knowledge and their understanding of what's currently happening in the market. So today we have a very special guest on our first podcast. I've personally watched this company grow over the last 9 years, from a startup business to a heavyweight within the real estate industry. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the managing partner of House & House Real Estate, Mr. Luke Remington. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Chris. First one on, eh?
Great introduction, eh?
Amazing, you've done very well. Thanks for inviting me on.
Look, thanks for coming on. I've not seen you in a while, but obviously we've had a long relationship over the years.
Indeed.
So I thought for the first time rolling this podcast out, it'd be great to have you on board. 23. I think everyone had a great year last year. I just want to understand how your year was at House & House Real Estate.
I think that for me, I've been in the real estate market since 1997 I started. Now, I don't remember a time that's been so well commented in every headline, every podcast, Instagram. It just seems to be out there. So I think the general public are so well informed at the moment, Chris, in general, because each time you pick up a newspaper or you open something, there's a record price or there's a statistic about what's going on with the economy and, you know, the Sheikh's vision. It's been phenomenal, right? And I think there's very few agents that could disagree with that comment. What's really interesting for me is wherever I travel in the world, everyone talks about Dubai. I would say at the moment it's probably the most talked about place. It's a brand really, and I'd say it's probably the most global brand as we speak. I'd say it's probably mentioned more times than the word Apple or something like that. Yeah. It's all segments of the market, low, medium, high. Developers have started launching kind of glitzy towers, a lot of branded residences. You've got more affordable housing. Mm-hmm. When I say affordable, it's enticing tenants that probably when you and I came to Dubai, we probably didn't see ourselves being that 5 to 10, 20-year vision. Mm-hmm. Was I see a lot of people now saying, well, I'm coming and I'm potentially going to stay. So rather than rent, let's buy. And so developers started launching products where you could go in at 1 million dirhams or even cheaper, which was unheard of going back, say, a decade ago, or certainly 5 years ago. So we saw an increase of tenants come into the market, and that then moves the market. You've got tenants buying, allows people to continue. It's the start of the kind of the food cycle. Mid-market, well-established communities, rocketing. Dubai Hills Estate, well, every week I think I saw a different record going on there. And, you know, established communities, Jumeirah Golf Estates, Arabian Ranches. I could go on and on and on. Most communities saw extremely high percentage growth. So 2022, as a company, we grew massively as well. We are now at 270 plus employees. Wow. So, you know, certainly a big difference from when you came to us in a small office in 2013.
Yeah, 8 years ago, dear me.
So we saw a big difference. We've got a lot of management looking after different teams. We've got a lot of teams that are dedicated to their area, focused on it. They in turn are dealing with lots of leads that you guys are thankfully supplying us day in, day out. I can't remember actually the last time I heard an agent complaining about receiving leads. So that's obviously a good thing, right?
Yeah, of course. Could never have too many. Yeah, look, I think when we look at the market has been volatile over a number of years, and I think we're just at a stage where the market's starting to mature a little bit. Right. So, I mean, how expensive can property get?
It's interesting, and I suppose, you know, I could probably get a lot of different feedback on this, but Dubai, in my opinion, still offers great value for money. You've got a country that has a huge amount. I've just come back from holiday, as I was telling you. I sat around the table with a load of different nationalities. As soon as everyone says where they're from, and everyone's like, oh, that's nice there, it's hot, it's warm, or it's, it's this. As soon as you mention Dubai, it engulfs into a kind of 30-minute conversation. Is it really this? Is it really that? Is it? There's lots of people that want to come in. There's a mass shortage of property. Again, debatable from different statistics that you can get out there. And I think the data that comes out, some publish their own data, some publish DLD data. It still offers great value for money, Chris. If you look at a lot of global cities and you go, for instance, and you delve into those cities and think, I don't know, I want to buy a property in somewhere in London, or, that's where I would know best. You can't get anything like what you can get here. You're not going into an apartment block that has facilities and, swimming pools or saunas or, all these fresh smells and clean. You're paying extremely high service charges. You're taking into consideration things like inheritance tax when unfortunately that day comes. You're taking into consideration when you do come to sell it, capital gains tax. These things you don't have to consider here. Now you have to still consider them not just in London, but lots of other countries around the world. Do I think prices will continue to grow? Yes, I do. I don't think it's sustainable to see the growth that we saw in 2022. I just think to go up too fast, too soon is never good, whatever happens.
Of course.
I do believe that there's a shortage. There's a mass influx. There's people that are speaking to friends, family, and saying, let's try it, I've got people that I don't really know, but would know through friends of friends or friends of relatives who reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, Luke, if you've got 20 minutes, I'm considering doing it. I've got 2 kids. My wife is this, I do this. What do you think? Could it work for me? I think there's a lot of people around the world that probably just had enough. I think COVID put a different perspective into things. I think people don't like to be told what to do. And I think the generation that are coming through, like maybe myself or younger, when you're coming at 20, 30, you're probably a bit more risk-free and you will just go for it, you're right? I suppose if you said to my parents or my grandparents, you want to move to a country 8.5 hours away, they probably would have been like, no, we'll stick to where we are, and we know the shops, and so it is a culture and a generational thing, but it offers something that I've not seen, and it's difficult to actually put it down to what it is. But number one, the safety, I think that overrides everything. You go away. Unfortunately, if you don't lock your apartment or your house door, you come back, it's still there, and there's no problems. While I was away, I was speaking to some friends, and I think 3 times in this street they'd had cars taken. Now, it's just unheard of here. So I don't think you can put value on that. And I think there's a lot of people that this is just one thing, but it's massive. If you've got a family, or if you haven't got a family, but you want to go out for a stroll at 3 o'clock in the morning and not be, worried.
Yeah, of course.
So anyway, it ticks so many boxes. For me, it's still relatively cheap compared to global cities. I think the visionary leadership that's there have proved time and time again, and mistakes have happened, but they've learned from them. We are a more regulated market. It's a more regulated banking system. It's more regulated with developers. So for me, and it is being talked about, buyers are saying, they have been saying, and I'm sure the buyers that were saying at the start of 2022, should I buy? And no, actually, we don't think there's going to be much growth, are probably kicking themselves now when their landlords have increased their rent. Do I think we would be having a conversation, Chris, in 2024 saying that the buyers in 2023, February, should have bought? I would be pretty sure. And I don't think it's a concern that if the prices level out or there's a small increase. I think for a majority of people is that they just don't want to see them drop. But then too much attention is paid to that, because if you've got a long-term vision, you're more than likely, it could drop, between now and 2030, but it's probably gone up 40% and it's only dropped 3%. So it levels out. But for me, we will see an increase in 2023.
So you've told me your perspective of the market going into 2023, what your thoughts are. What's the plans business-wise? What's the plans for House and House moving forward?
Growth.
Okay, how much?
Accelerate while you can. We sat down in 2021 and we set out a 5-year vision. Now the 5-year vision, I think we hit our 2025 figures in 2022. So we've redone those. Look, we need to increase at a rate that is sustainable. Culture gets effective. It's a big thing for House and House, which I think massively influences the rest of the world. Now, yeah, the rest of the world, we see problems, and whether we know the in-depths of it, we will make our opinions or form our opinions on it. So, we can hear that there's issues in the States, and, if there's issues in the States, then it's global, right? There is a bit more free money, and you may be saving slightly less, but what you're going to spend extra if you tie in a mortgage now, and there's still some really good products around, Chris, and there's been, I think, some cheaper products have been released earlier this week as well. A lot of the banks are now seeing that there is kind of a limit to what the Fed increases will be. So there's some good rates. What would I do? I would still buy now, because I think if you weren't buying now, or if you didn't have a home now, you're going to be renting. I've got concern. That's my concerns. Tenants are my concerns, because that's going one way. That's going north. Rents will continue at a lot faster rate in 2023 than sales prices. So do you want, and yes, there is a calculator, but you're going into rent that you're probably going to be paying 150% more than possibly what you would have done 2-3 years ago. That 150% doesn't compare to an interest rate rise of 1% or 1.5% or 2% at a fixed rate for 5 years. Yeah, of course, but it's going to stop you going out for lunch 5 times a month, or you may have to cut back on some added extras that you would do in life, whether you smoke or whatever it may be. So it's not talked about to me as much as other parts of the world. Yes, people are watching what they're spending, but Dubai, I think a lot of people do come to Dubai with a saving head on. A lot of people I speak to, doesn't happen too much in our country, but people, okay, well, I'm going to earn this, my rent's this, my car's this, my fuel's this, my food's this, I'll save this and I'll send it back home. If people are knocking off 1,000 dirhams a month, usually when we see these increases, if you sit down with a financial advisor, the percentage people are, wow. When you break it down, it could be 1,000 dirhams. It's not what you want. No one wants to lose 1,000 dirhams, but you'll be losing a lot more if you have your rent increase next year. It will go up a lot more. You've still got to get, yes, there's still associated costs with buying the property, broker fees, deposits. But the interest rates, yes, they're going to go up. I would say we're going to see an increase probably up to the tail end of this year, and it will curb. I think the US will then hopefully have sorted out some issues. Worldwide, there's economic issues, there's political issues, but that's the reason everyone is then coming to Dubai. That there's so many issues around, and I just think Dubai it's like they leadership sat down and looked into a crystal ball and thought 2021 there's going to be problems everywhere in the world, most places. We can really capitalize on this, and we can create this brand that everyone talks to. I flew into the airport, and as soon as literally the plane lands, you see an Emirates plane with a Museum of the Future logo on the side, and it's the future. It's buzzing. It's awake, and it's just, I think it gives you that energy. And I think, okay, I'm going to pay extra interest rates, but I'm going to have the best time of my life.
Yeah, agreed. Probably a good question to ask is, you deal with a lot of end users. Your colleagues deal with a lot of end users on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
What sort of questions are they getting asked at the moment from buyers, from tenants?
I think everyone, probably missed the boat seems to be the one that jumps up all the time, right? But I think missed the boat's probably jumped up for the last 100 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who knows, right? I'm always kind of hesitant to kind of predict, because there's so many predictions out there. And there's a prediction at this level and there's a prediction at this level. So where should we just sit in the middle and be conservative? A lot of people are saying, have we missed the boat? Because we've seen such a big jump last year. Going back to what I said, if we look at the amount of apartments, we look at the number of villas, we look at the population, and we look at the expected growth, where's everyone going to live?
Yeah, of course.
We can't put beds in our offices. So for that reason, I don't think people have missed the boat. And again, I think missing the boat is more of a short term. Now, yes, unexpected things happen within our lives and we're happy today and we need to go and sell up tomorrow and move to home countries. But I think the whole sentence around moving back to home countries, I think this is a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And I think the visa changes that have been made, people coming and going more flexible, people working with different visas, golden visas. I think people are now saying, well, if I go back home, well, Dubai is my home, so why would I? I may go back and see my parents and my grandparents and my sister or my brother. But now I feel that there's been a shift in the last 10 years.
Mindset, yeah.
There definitely has, where people are now saying, well, maybe if I get to 60 and I start getting a bit uneasy on my legs and I need a bit of care, then I might have to move back there. I think people are now saying, well, the healthcare is superb here, so why can't I stay here for 9 months of the year? And then those 3 months that it's very hot, I'll go somewhere else. So I think there's been a massive change in mindset. Missed the boat. I wouldn't say missed the boat it has happened for sure. But that's the main one that I'm hearing all the time.
Okay.
And it's probably because we're seeing so much in the papers and the tabloids and the websites, right?
Yeah. No, look, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. A lot of people even in here, when I speak to them who are looking at investing in property, feel that, I should have done that a year ago, should have done that 2 years ago. But in 5 years' time, it's going to be the same conversation,
probably,
isn't it?
And it's if you go and you buy a coffee for 10 dirhams and I go to the same coffee shop and I pay 12, I don't particularly like it. But if I dwell on it at those 2 dirhams and it really keeps me up at night, and then I never go back to that coffee shop and I get really angry and I get it's probably not going to benefit me either. So sometimes you just sort of say, well, I could have bought cheaper last year, but I didn't. But what position do I want to be in next year?
Yeah, of course. Well, look, time's almost up. I think you've left us with a good sort of mind space to be in. A lot of people out there should have a lot of tough conversations with themselves in terms of what they're going to do, so they don't miss that boat again. But really appreciate you coming on, really appreciate your insights. I know we had to battle to try and get something in the diary, missing schedules and stuff. But look, I think you've got a lot of knowledge in the market. I think a lot of people can get some value from this podcast. So I'd like to thank you for firstly coming on, and it's really good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Before you go, any last words for any viewers?
I see it from my perspective, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm happy to discuss it with anyone and give you my opinion. It comes from my heart and what I've seen over the years. I would like to come back in February next year, and hopefully what I've said over the last 20 odd minutes is what has happened. But
we can review it in a year's time.
Let's see.
We can review it in a year's time.
And then I'll pick your lottery numbers the year after for you.
Done.
Cheers, Chris.
Thanks very much. Cheers.